Welcome to the St. Johns County Public Library Teen and Tween Mother's Day craft. Today we are going to be making this for your mother. This is made out of cupcake liners and cardstock and some straws and a fish bowl and some Hershey's Kisses. So let's go through those supplies that you need real quick. You need a hot glue gun. You need 5 cupcake liners. You need 1 mini cupcake liner if you're using those. If you don't have those, you can use a button for the center of your flower or a small circle that you have cut out to make the center, and that would be pretty as well. You're going to need the cardstock, and that is what you're going to use the punch for. You would be cutting out your circles out of your cardstock with the 1.5, or you would be drawing a circle around on your cardstock to cut out your circles. But you're going to need 2 of those for each flower. You're going to need a heavy straw like this, or you can also use chopsticks if you have those around. You're going to need some Hershey's Kisses. If you don't have those, don't worry, this will still work. And then you'll need a piece of ribbon. It doesn't need to be a big piece of ribbon. That's going to tie around your jar or your vase or whatever it is that you use to put your flowers in. So now that we have our materials, let's talk a little bit about Mother's Day. Now the information that I am using today came out of the library's Gale database. And I am using 2 different magazines, Hopscotch and New Moon Girls. And the craft that I'm using today came from Craftaholics Anonymous. I found it on Pinterest and I kind of adapted it. So, Mother's Day was started by Anna Jarvis. She remembered her mother, Anne Reese Jarvis, saying that there should be a day to commemorate or remember all that mothers do to make life better in so many places. This is what she heard from her mother when she was just 12 years old. So sometimes you will hear that Mother's Day was started by a 12-year-old, and that's not quite right. That's just when she thought of it and got the idea from her mother. So her mother really was a very special person and deserved to be honored. She did several good things. She started a group of women's clubs to help the Appalachian people because there was a lot of death of babies and children and mothers, and she wanted to bring hygiene and cleanliness and all of that to the Appalachian to try to help with that death rate and just to do whatever she could to make life better for those people. And then in the Civil War, she started a brigade of women to take care of the soldiers of the Civil War. And those ladies took care of the soldiers where they were from the Union, which would have been the North, or the Confederacy, which would have been the South. And then after the war was over, they tried to reconnect those people and not have them be enemies anymore and to try to get along. So that was a very good thing. So when Anna wanted to honor her mother, Anne, and that does get confusing, that's why I read the first part to get it right, whenever she died, she went back to that church where her mother had been in Sunday school for 20 years and said, hey, can we please have a day to honor mothers? Because she wanted to honor her mother. And they said yes, and on that first celebration in the spring of 1908, May 10th, 1908, the first Mother's Day service was held, and 407 mothers and children actually attended that. And each mother got a carnation because that was Anne's favorite flower was the carnation, so every lady received that. Every mother received that. So then after that, Anna said, okay, I want this to be national. And she started writing letters to congressmen, the president, the governors, prominent businessmen, just anyone that she could think of. Oh, in churches, just anyone that she could think of saying, let's please honor mothers. And finally, President Woodrow Wilson signed a presidential proclamation designating the second Sunday in May as Mother's Day, May 8th, 1914, calling mothers the greatest source of the country's strength and inspiration. And then Anna went on to live to be age 84 when she died in 1948. So that's the history of Mother's Day. Let's go ahead and make our flowers. So what you're going to do, and I've already folded some, but what you're going to do is you are going to fold your cupcake liners in fourths. And it doesn't really matter how neat they are. You're just going to try to get it as even as you can, and then you're going to have a little triangle down here at the bottom. So this is what it looks like. And now I'm going to put a dot of hot glue there. Okay. And then I already folded some others, so I'm going to put my next little triangle on top of that dot of glue, and I'm gradually going to make a circle all the way around. Just putting a dot of glue on top there, and taking the next triangle, and again put a dot of glue there in the middle on top of your last little triangle corner there. Put another one. Okay, it's looking like this. Okay, and then the last one, the fifth one, I'm going to put a dot there. I'm going to put that on top. Okay, so this is what it looks like. You've got all five. So on the back here, you're going to see a little triangle, and on the front you are, but this way. So this is going to be the front of your flower. So I'm going to take one of the circles that I cut out earlier, and I'm going to put some hot glue on that. I'm going to put the hot glue on my circle. I'm going to put it on the back of the flower. Okay, so that's going to look like that. Okay. Then I'm going to take my straw or my chopstick, whatever it is that you have. I'm going to run a little bit of hot glue along about an inch or so on the end there. I'm going to put that on the back of the flower. And then, so that's going to look like that. So here's the front, here's the back. Okay. And then I'm going to take my other circle. I'm going to put some hot glue around the edge of the circle and down the center of the circle. And then I'm going to take that hot glue and I'm going to put it on top of the straw. Kind of hold that together, kind of squish it together. Be careful, the glue is hot. I'm trying to do this fast. Okay. So now it looks like this. You've got two circles glued together over your straw. I'm going to go back so here's what it looks like. I'm going to take my small cupcake liner. I'm going to turn it inside out. So it looks like this. The white part's on the outside now. And I'm going to put a circle of glue there. Put some hot glue on the back of that. And now I'm going to put it in the center of the front of my flower. So here's my the small circle goes in the center of the front of the flower, if you can see that. So the next step is, if you have any Hershey's Kisses, that you can use those. If you don't, it looks pretty just as it is. Or you could put like a little button or a piece of paper for the center, but it actually looks pretty nice that way. Or it would have looked pretty just with a button in the center. So whatever it is that you would like to do. If you have a Hershey's Kiss, you can go ahead and put a little glue on it and put that in the center of your flower. If your mother likes some other kind of candy that's small, you might could even use that. It just depends. So this is your flower. Okay, now that was making your flower. Now the next step of this is to take some either some more circles, or I actually had a pretty flower punch, and you wouldn't have to use that. But if you had one, let's see. I'm going to cut out some pretty shapes here. And if you don't have this, you can just make some more circles, and that would be fine too. So I've got a couple of these little flower shapes, or I could have cut more circles, and I'm going to put something I like about my mom, and I'm going to put kind on one, and I'm going to put caring on one, and then I'm going to take my Hershey's Kisses. I'm going to put a little dot of glue. It doesn't matter if you put it on the Hershey's Kiss or your little flower or whatnot. Maybe both. They'll probably hold better. Okay, and I'm going to put, so I just glued that on. Let me do another one. So here we go. Put a dot of glue in the middle of my little shape there that I wrote kind on, and put that there. And then what I would do is I put these in my jar of flowers here, and I put those in there for my mother to enjoy. And one more thing, and that is you would tie your ribbon. And I already have a ribbon tied on this one, but you would just tie a ribbon around your jar or your vase or whatever it is, and you can put a little hole through. You could cut another little circle maybe, or just a square or a rectangle out of some paper, and just write a kiss for each thing we love about you, Mom. Well, thank you for joining me at my home today. You've seen these paintings on the wall. This is a painting done by my daughter of the St. Johns River, and this was a painting done by my Aunt Jean, who was an art teacher. I don't think you could have seen this, but my flowers were sitting on top of this quilting square. And this is a quilting square that I made at the library as part of our teen sewing class. And my coworker is an expert quilter, and she taught me how to do this. So just keep that in mind, that when we get back to normal, we have a lot of fun things to do at the library. Like I said, this was a teen sewing class that I had. And I hope that someday soon we can get back to that, and we can have sewing classes and craft classes and do all sorts of wonderful things together. And thank you for joining me today.